What's your turnover right now?
60 million a year.
What was the moment where you've been like, this worked?
I hit £1 million in the bank. It was mad because getting a £3 million house and then moving out into a 2-bed flat, having a collection of Lamborghinis, selling them all. I've simplified my life massively. I bought the house for 2.8 million. Stamp duty, I never heard of stamp duty. And then when I got the bill and they said house is 2.8 million and stamp duty is 280,000, that's the tax to the government. And if I sell the house in a week, the new person's got to come in and pay 280,000. Oh, the government have got more than enough money. And they said they ain't got no money. You're paying council tax, you're paying business rates, you're paying stamp duty, you're being run by the mafia.
Welcome back to another episode of the PBK podcast. Each and every week we bring you a special guest, and this week we've really upped the levels. You know, we said we're going to mix it up a little bit, and although we're a property-based podcast, we're always looking at business, entrepreneurship, and how you can really be a success. And we have got probably one of the pinnacle success stories. Mario, how you doing?
I'm good.
You're good, yeah? You're always very chilled. I've been watching some of your pod. You're a very relaxed individual.
Number one, I'm always on the move, so it's good to just sit down and relax sometimes. But yeah, I think you have to be relaxed in it. You can't be jumping all over the place.
I hear you. I wonder, how does a relaxed person get to what, over the last 6 years? Is it 6 years now? 7 years. You're at 160 stores?
Yeah.
160 stores. You absolutely smashed it with Fireaway Pizza.
Thank you.
Like, I feel, but you're just so chilled. Like, how do you think that plays into the success of the business?
I think there's times to be like loud and excited, and there's times to be calculated and relaxed, in my opinion.
I think a lot of the time when people look at business, everyone kind of has these big long-term goals, but you've got to start somewhere. And when you were starting up with £25,000 in your pocket, where did you think the potential of the business was when you were trying to open the first store?
I thought we'd go far. I didn't think we were going to go like ridiculously far, but I thought it would be successful. I didn't think it would be, overly successful. Maybe that's like a lack of confidence at the time. I don't know, but I thought we'd be successful to an extent, maybe successful enough for myself to live like decently. But things kind of snowballed, and it is where it is.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, the pace at the moment, you've like ridiculous in terms of what you've done, in terms of how much market share you've garnered. Some household brands that we've known from growing up as kids that you've managed to surpass in the UK. Like, you've got more stores than Pizza Hut now, right? In the UK.
We've got more stores than like the likes of Pizza Go-Go, Tops Pizza, Franca Manca. I think Papa John's, they've got about 350. Pizza Hut got, about the same as us.
Okay. But that's like,
in a short space of time. Yeah, it's good. Yeah. But it's not always a good thing to grow so quickly, you know, which we've kind of realized. But at least we've realized instead of continuing that trajectory.
Before we get onto those maybe growing pains, what was it that made you say, okay, do you know what, this is the business that I'm going to go for?
The fact that I like food, I think that was one of the main factors. I think you've got to be interested, or at least substantially interested in your industry. If you don't like it, or you find it boring, it's going to be difficult to keep at it for a long period of time. So I think the fact that I like food was a big factor. The fact that I like business in general, like buying, selling from early days in school, it all comes down to, buying and selling business, and that's what it comes down to. So a couple of different things, but mainly the fact that I didn't really want to work for no one else. I wanted to do my own thing. So I think those three things there probably pushed me to the decision of making a business.
Because before having Fireaway, you had a coffee shop as well. Do you think you learn more from your successes or from the failures?
I think both. You learn by your mistakes, but you also learn by your successes and your good decisions, so that you can, replicate them. If you're always failing, you're not gonna get far. but you do learn from your failures, and as long as you implement the changes needed to learn from them and push forward, you can see it as losing money or you can see it as paying for a lesson. And so if you see it as paying for a lesson, then it's more positive.
Yeah, I think it's both. You're like you said, you can touch on both, and really you have to take every life experience as just something to build on to move forward and take it to the next.
Agreed. Yeah.
You mentioned obviously about like always liking business. You said like always sold things as an entrepreneur. Did you always know you were an entrepreneur, or is it something that there was a sort of changing moment?
Maybe subconsciously I knew, but at the time I didn't see it as anything out of the ordinary, although there was only like a small group of people in the school selling sweets in the playground, and then moving on, buying and selling things on like eBay, and then starting like a small little business. It wasn't like a massive wow factor. It just kind of at the time felt like the thing to do. But looking back at it now, yeah, I think those kind of things do play a part in your, growing adult life.
Do you think, I think there's a question people often think is like, particularly when it comes to entrepreneurs, are entrepreneurs built through life experience, or do you think like people have those kind of traits in them from conception?
I don't think you're born with anything, and I think things like your environment and the people around you influence you a lot. So I don't think anyone's born with anything. I think you just have to work hard at it, and like I said, if you're interested and you've got a passion, you can decide to follow it or you can decide to ignore it. And if you ignore it, then regardless what you're born with, you're not gonna progress at it. So I think you need to see early on what you're interested in, what you're good at, what your talent is, and then work at it and build on it to take it to the next step.
When you talk about that early on, what were you sort of like in school? Because I saw some of your previous results. They said you might not have been the best.
Nah, definitely not. I weren't interested. As I said, if you're not interested, you don't pay attention. If you don't pay attention, then you don't get the best results. So school-wise, I wasn't interested. And at the same time, I wasn't, I would say, to be honest, intellectually able. Although certain things like art, I've done all right at, creativity kind of things. But in terms of like studying maths, English, science, I weren't really good. In fact, when I actually went to high school, I said to myself, I don't know why I said it, but I said to myself, obviously it's a decent school. My mum sent me out of the area to a better school than where my friends went to, in terms of like grades and those kind of things. But I said to myself, all right, it's a good school. I might get a detention every now and then. I might get a Saturday detention. I don't know why I calculated what kind of punishments I was going to get.
Okay, I'm going to get a
in
few.
Advance. But I ended up getting suspended from the school. I ended up getting suspended from the school, and just not really doing much at all.
Do you feel like knowing that you're entrepreneurial, that maybe that school wasn't and like higher education wasn't necessarily the path?
100%, but at the time I don't think you realize, innit? I mean, they don't teach you can't excel at certain topics in school. For example, they don't teach you about business or about money or about tax. Why? Maybe they don't want you to know about it.
No, definitely. And I think that's an interesting subject in that there's definitely an advantage if you're not aware of tax, you're not aware of like, the importance of credit and loads of other things that really are going to keep you in employment, which I guess we need to a degree. If everybody was starting new businesses, there's nobody to work in them. But I think what I asked about like with the school and your experiences of knowing that like you can make money, like so whether it's through selling sweets or doing businesses, and then having these experiences where I know you've touched on in the past, like when you were leaving school and a teacher saying, well, Mario, you've wasted your time here, haven't you?
Yeah.
Do you think that was like a catalyst where you said to yourself, I'm going to prove people different? Do you think that helped you excel?
Maybe subconsciously, but then at the same time, maybe not, because I spent the next few years, messing around doing nothing. So it's not as if I took that comment from the teacher or like results in grades and said, right now I'm going to prove them wrong, because that wasn't the case. I'm not going to sit here and lie. So maybe not, but as we said, if there's only certain subjects in school, like maths, English, science, geography, history, and you're not interested in them, then you can't excel at them. So obviously you're gonna fail. Like I heard that quote: if you judge a fish by his capability of climbing a tree. He's going to be a failure all his life, isn't it? So I think if there were different subjects, and I think not everyone's going to be interested in business. So it's not as if there's not going to be no one to work for other people, because there's more important things in life than business and making money. Some people aren't interested in it, but obviously some people are. So I think they should, from an early age, have them opportunities in schools to be able to learn and excel in things like business, money, tax.
Yeah, I think if there was a more of a diversification in the curriculum, particularly now when a lot of the highest paid roles might be, you know, in tech or in, you know, different types of software and things like that are focused on that earlier on, would probably be more helpful for the wider economy.
100%.
But back to Fireaway, because that's why we're here. What's your turnover right now?
As a brand,
Yeah.
because obviously it's a franchise, so each person is responsible for their own figures, but we can see the figures. So as a brand, 160 stores, you're looking at about 60 million a year. But then from a head office, from like my point of view, we're looking at about 15 million a year.
That's crazy, man. Like, but even when you say that to yourself, do you feel proper proud, or is it more just, I've still got so much more you want to do?
It's more shock than proud, like, because obviously to come that far, but yeah, it's slightly proud, but more like shock that we managed to get there in such a short period of time, and also a degree of worry, because I worry a lot. I'm a person that worries a lot, so there's always, no matter how much money you're making, no matter what you're doing, for me anyway, there's always a sense of worry. And then there's other people that, you know, they don't worry at all, which can lead to, you know, making mistakes. So I think you need to have a balance of worry and yeah.
Have you had a moment where it was like, or what was the moment where you've been like, oh, this worked? Like, no, I've made it, but like,
probably, although it might sound a bit shallow, because obviously, but numbers do speak a lot. Probably when I hit like £1 million in the bank, or when I bought a house, or when I bought my mum a house. Those kind of milestones, although they don't last very long, but you do think for like a minute or so. Yeah, we've come a long way.
So buying the house, actually, because I saw that, and I think when you wanted to buy your house, was that when you actually sold some of the shares, some of the shares?
Yeah. So I was living with my mum for till I was about 29, and then I rented it. I wanted to get out. It was about time, because I didn't want to be 30 living at home. Not that that's an issue, but I moved out about 29, rented a house, a little 3-bedroom house, for a year, and then sold some shares in the business and bought a house. And that was the only real time from starting the business to that point that I really took any money out. I took like a basic wage for like 6 years, maybe like 2 or 3 grand a month.
So you were just really locked in on just building a business, reinvesting everything, and not sort of. Do you feel like your lifestyle changed during the process? Or I guess if you're not taking that much money
because
out.
I don't really have that much time to spend money until recently, and like buying cars. But I think the main point, I've always liked cars, but the main thing was buying a house.
Do you like a car? I've seen you got a nice little collection going on there. What's your favorite car at the moment?
That I own, probably like the Urus.
The Urus, yeah.
But saying that, and I said it on the last podcast, it's mad, because I started a business to not have to work for other people, to make loads of money, go on holiday, get all the, you know, the nice cars, the big house. And I've done it in a short space of time, which is good, because I realized that it wasn't the answer. Or at least it wasn't what I thought it would be. So from moving into like a £3 million house, and then last month I moved out, and I'm getting a nice little 2-bedroom flat around the corner. I'm renting the house out, but
yeah,
it wasn't. Bro, number one, it comes with loads of maintenance.
Yeah.
So it's just a headache, and I've got enough headache as it is in terms of the business. So to add another headache on top, in terms of maintenance, in terms of cleaning, in terms of bills. So I'm renting it to a family from America. They moved in 2 weeks ago, and I found a 2-bedroom flat around the corner. So it was mad, because I always wanted, you know, the nice cars, the big house, and yeah, getting a £3 million house and then moving out into a 2-bed flat, having a collection of like 3 or 4 cars, Lamborghinis, Rolls Royce, and selling them all and just keeping one car. I think I've simplified in the last like 6 weeks. I've simplified my life, massively. I stepped back from Fireaway to a degree. So we've got a new managing director, because I think it's good to find a balance. And I think it's good that I've done it so early on, that I hit them targets so early on, because at least now I've realized if I'd spent like 20, 30 years in the business, hitting that point of getting a big house and nice cars, and then realizing it wasn't what I thought it was, I think I'd be pretty bitter.
Do you feel like with those type of milestones, it's almost much like going to university, or it's like what society tells you you're supposed to do? So you're supposed to do really well, and then you celebrate by big house, nice cars. And it may not always be exactly what makes you happy or what your definition of success is.
But you don't know until you hit that,
until you do it,
which is the difficult bit. And when you tell people, they don't believe. Same like I didn't believe when people told me, So I think you have to do certain things for yourself.
And when it came to like buying, for example, the house, particularly because we're like a property-based platform, was there much of a investment hat on, like, what's this going to be worth? Can I add value? Or was it just, this is my dream area or a house, and I just want something that ticks all my boxes?
I grew up in Mitcham in South London.
By the way, Connell said I have to shout him out, so big up Connell.
100%.
Because you're a proper local man. Like, you can't even pretend. Like, we got a lot of mutuals.
It is, it's mad when you think about it, from growing up in them like areas to, and I always used to like go for drives around these like private estates in like Surrey, and I think you need to, what's the word? You need to visualize, certain things. Don't spend like the whole day just looking at nice cars and driving around nice areas. But I feel like to an extent I did visualize it. And I said I always want to be in, a house like this. And then that was my first house that I bought. I didn't really want to buy something small and then next. I'm very kind of impatient. But anyway, I bought this house for, I didn't really do much, like, as you said, like background checks or it wasn't an investment. Although I always look at things kind of like an investment, but my own personal wants would probably overtake that personal investment. But I bought the house for 2.8 million. That was my first house, and the stamp duty is another thing. Obviously, probably better than me. Stamp duty. I never heard of stamp duty. And then when I got the bill,
you're gonna learn about that real quick.
when I got the bill and they said the house is 2.8 million and stamp duty is 280,000. 280,000 for what?
Yeah,
that's the tax to the government. And if I sell the house in a week, the new person's got to come in and pay 280,000.
Yeah,
and then my neighbor sells the house, the whole road is paying, like, depending on the value of the house, but. Bro, the government have got more than enough money, and they said they ain't got no money, and you're paying council tax, you're paying business rates, you're paying stamp duty.
I think one thing with stamp duty that people really don't like is the element of double taxation. So you have to work really hard to get the money, whether you paid your corporation tax or personal tax. Then you buy a house, you pay tax. If you have to pass that house on to somebody, if you pass away, you pay inheritance tax. You pay tax 4 or 5 times on the same asset.
If you add up all the taxes that you pay, it's got to go into, I reckon, into like the 60, 70, even 80%. Like it's mad. That's why people don't count it, because they don't want to know.
Yeah,
it's literally you're being run by the mafia.
But then we ask this question. It's like, so say for example, if Fireaway Pizza does 1 million, like for example, if you have £1 million profit and you get to be in a 28% bracket, so you get X amount of money, or you do less and you're in a lower tax threshold. It's if you want to earn more money, effectively, you've got to pay more tax.
Yeah, but in terms of houses, if you've paid tax on that money and you're saving up your whole life to buy a nice house, why should you have to pay? Okay, you pay something, but not £280,000, like £250,000 on what? On nothing.
A lot of money.
It's a lot.
It is. I think so. There is like recently, like with changes, they're planning on changing the stamp duty threshold from 300 to 425,000 in London. So if you're buying
something above
something smaller, then you get a reduction. But that being said, it is still very, very expensive. So that sounds like did you get a lot of house for your money then, I hope?
It was nice. It's like it's a private estate in Surrey. It's got like security, it's got gates, but it's a 5-bed. We turned it into a 4-bed because the rooms were quite small, so we knocked one wall down and made.
Nice
So it
principal
turned,
bedroom.
massive, like with like a walk-in wardrobe, and it's nice. It's a big house. It's a nice area. I'm probably like the poorest guy on the whole street, but that's good.
It's a good place to be in,
a
right?
good place to be. I'm probably one of the youngest as well. It's near the Chelsea football ground, so there is quite a few of them floating around. But it's nice. But then once I got it, and then I realized I lived there for 2 years, and then I said, you know what, it's just too much for me on my own. It's just 4-bedroom house. It's just too much. I bought my mum a house around the corner, like an old Victorian house, like tall ceilings, done a bit of renovation in there. So I've kind of got into property without actually meaning to get into property. And then my mum sold her house she wanted to sell her house in Mitcham. But at that time, the market was down and no one wanted to buy it. So in the end, I bought it with my brother. We took out a loan. She got the money. She got some, money to enjoy, and we took on the house. We took out a loan. We bought the house from her, split it into 4 flats, and now we rent it out. But there's not that much money in it, to be honest. After we've paid the mortgage, after we paid the bills, after we paid the maintenance, the rent that we're getting in, and the money that we're paying out, probably making about like $1,000 a month between us. It wasn't as an investment, it was just to help my mum out, because no one wants like a massive house in Mitcham, so we thought, let's buy it, turn it into flats.
I think that's the thing as well, like particularly when I speak to like whether it's footballers or people that are in fortunate places that do make a lot of money, property does sound very slow to a lot of people, because you're like, I've got to put in 100 grand to make an extra 500, 700,000 pound a month, and it doesn't necessarily make as much money as you can make in business, which is why for a lot of the larger, landlords, they do business first and then exit a business and then use that money to kind of give them back their time through a passive income when investing in property.
But I think there's headache regardless. I always looked at property as, I can invest in that, it would be less headache, but there's always headache.
I think that's life though, isn't it?
Yeah,
really?
anything worth doing is comes at a cost, doesn't it?
How happy was mum when you were able to be like, by the way, mum, I've got you a house? Like, what was that feeling like for you and her? Thank you for liking, commenting, and most importantly, subscribing. It doesn't go unnoticed. However, only 28% of you who regularly tune into the videos actually subscribe. Now, our goal is to get that to 40%. So if you could help me and hit that subscribe button right now, not only will it help us bring on bigger and better guests, but it will help us create better content for you, as you've already seen. Now back to the video.
It was good. Yeah. It was good because, my mum worked like really hard as pretty much a single parent for most of, and I've got 2 brothers and 2 sisters. So it's 5 of us. So she worked extremely hard. So obviously it's good to give back. And in terms of a house in a nice area, it's perfect. She likes to walk the dogs. But in terms of like materialistic things, she's not really that impressed. But in terms of a house, that was a good... Otherwise, we'd still be in Mitcham. Not that there's anything wrong with Mitcham.
Of course. To be fair, Mitcham's expensive now as well.
It is. It's going up. And it's not too far from where I am now. It's about half an hour. I think it's always important to remember where you're from. Of course. And to embrace it.
No, of course. But I guess from, like you said, getting suspended to, that's my son, having to tell her friends, my son got suspended, to, by the way, my son moved me out of Mitcham. I'm now over at Cobham sides, and she must be buzzing.
100%. But... she wasn't very strict with me growing up, which may be a good thing and a bad thing, because I see like a lot of my friends, some of their parents were like, when you get in trouble at school and you blame the teacher, like that's kind of the generation where we're kind of at. There's not that much discipline, and they're like, my son will never do that. But my mum weren't like that. She would, I remember when I got suspended at school and I had to go to the police station, and she'd come and she'd just be like, she'd shake her head. She wouldn't be like strict as in like loud or physically like strict, but she would like let me know that she was disappointed, which was good, but she wasn't like overly strict where it kind of she was like she was balanced, but being like a single parent, I suppose there's only so much you can do. So it was good to repay her.
What's your management style like, particularly being young and obviously having to like, how do you manage your team?
Not very strictly.
Yeah.
Again, maybe I took that,
Took that from
from my
mum.
mum, maybe. But we got a small but strong team. So managing those 160 stores, we got 12 drivers delivering stock. We've got 12 or 10 guys in the warehouse preparing the stock. And then we've got 10 people in the office from like finance, marketing, distribution, logistics. And then we've got 4 people on the road, like actively checking shops. I think the franchise model is different from owning, or because if we owned every single store, we'd have like over like 1,000 people working for us.
Yeah. And with that as a model, like what was it that made you go down the franchise route as opposed to saying, okay, I want to open another shop and another shop myself?
Less headache. I realized very early on from having like 2 stores, one in Sutton and one in, that was the first one, and one in Thornton Heath. I realized like it's a lot of stress. It's a lot of stress. There's no way that I could have. I mean, some of the franchisees we've got now, they've got 6, 7 shops. I don't know how they do it. You have to have a good team, because it's a headache. It is a headache.
No, I can imagine. I think you touched on obviously having like a marketing department, but you've been heavily involved in some creative marketing from early on. What was it with your first? What did you do with your first store?
There's been a few. Once we rented a tank from like an ex-army, like some crazy army guy. We rented a tank from him and drove it around London and delivered some pizzas to the competition. That was good. Another shop, while it was under construction, in the front window we put loads of basil plants with like lighting. People assumed there was like a drugs house in there. That got some attention.
I think you've managed to really, particularly like being a Londoner, like you've really managed to immerse yourself in the London music scene. And
I think if I grew up in the countryside in the middle of nowhere, I think it would have been very difficult to kind of adapt the brand or use those kind of things. Or I probably would have been too worried to, use certain ideas and that. But the fact growing up in London and there's a lot happening and been through a lot, then you kind of use it to your advantage.
How is it like, because now you're quite known, like, but today you decided to come on a train. Do people bother you? Do they approach you? What's it like?
Sometimes I was on the train. I only jumped on the train because the traffic was so mad. So I got a driver and I said, look, just let me off at the train station. It will be a lot quicker. But turns out it took even longer. But yeah, in terms of, people do. One guy come up on the train once and was like, oh, you own Fireaway? And he's like, what are you doing on the train? I was like, it's Friday night, isn't it? I'm drinking. I ain't going to drive. So every now and then, it's more like people that are interested in the same kind of industry, or they've got shops. I'm helping a few different brands kind of scale their business, but I think it would always be related around food, because I'm not going to jump into, I mean, I'm interested in property, but I'm not interested that much that I'd start, teaching other people. But I've got a course out in terms of franchising.
Because I'm sure a lot of people must look at your model and be like, you've got the blueprint now.
You've got the blueprint to an extent, but it's a lot of hard work. There's no actual like blueprint, which requires no hard work. There's no like get rich quick scheme that I can just like write out for someone. It would always, and I think that's what a lot of people now these days are looking for. They're looking for like a get rich quick scheme. Not saying like trading is it, but a lot of people perceive it to be a get rich quick scheme. You can work from anywhere on your laptop, press a few buttons and make a load of money. I don't think that's always the case.
Yeah, I think anything that can make a lot of money, you can also lose a lot. Because I remember I played a sport with someone. So I play a sport with someone quite regularly, and they were talking about always trading. They come and they show me their phone. They'd be like, "Yeah, look, I made 20k today. I made whatever," and it was always buzzing. I made 20k. I remember the day that they couldn't focus, like lost every game. I was like, "What happened?" I lost 300k this morning, and that's what comes with the risk and reward. When
it's an up and down, it's a gamble. Money. That's why I prefer to invest in like property or shops, but it comes with a lot of hard work, innit?
Yeah, no, definitely.
A lot of stamp duty as well.
I feel like when we talk about this, when we talk about like how fast Fireaway's gone, I'm trying to like probe a little bit, because I don't feel like you just say, "Oh yeah, it just grew," but like I can't think of another example of another business from like a core startup that's grown that quickly in that space of time. Like, what do you think your keys to success were within the business?
I think it needs to be, well, it doesn't need to be, but in my opinion and in my journey, it's been a popular product. So I'm not selling, 24 karat gold collars for dogs. This is like a popular product. Then you have to add like a twist to it. So you've got a popular product, so the market's there. It's worth how many billion. So there is there is a market for it. People do want it. Then you have to come with something different to make you stand out from the competition, because obviously there's a massive amount of competition with it being such a popular product. So once you add that creativity, that kind of twist in respect to our brand, we use a fire instead of like the usual electric ovens that in the rest of them. So we use like an open fire. We do like one price for us, create your own, pizza. So you got that. You got the brand colors, like you said, the marketing. So I think it's not just one thing. You have to adapt a lot of different things to kind of stand out from the crowd. And even then, it's not guaranteed. So it needs a lot of hard work. You need a little bit of luck. You need to. There's a few different things, but I think you need a popular product and you need to add a twist.
Do you know what really slaps? That cookie with the Kinder Bueno thing on top.
Yeah.
You see, let me tell you something. Let me look in the camera. See, if you buy that cookie and you put it in the microwave for 8 good seconds, that is a crazy dessert.
Addicted, yeah. It
a
is
good-
nice. That's my boy's company.
Yeah.
So I'm involved with that as well.
Okay,
So
nice.
it's good to network and to bring people in. It's not just that one person wins. You need to have the mind frame and the mentality of working with other people to get where you want to get to.
And when you do something well, it gives you the option to diversify into other complementary businesses as well.
100%, exactly. Yeah. You can look at ways where you can adapt the business to cater for. Like now we supply all the stock to our restaurants, but there's no reason why we can't supply the stock apart from like the secret core ingredients. We can supply the other stock to other people, other restaurants.
That's that it. So have you got any plans to diversify in that way, or are there other things that you're thinking about?
Yeah, we're looking at a bigger warehouse, whether to buy it or rent it, because we don't have the space to we have just enough space to supply our own restaurants without looking at other people. So we're doing that. I've just opened a dessert store in central London.
Oh, nice.
Again, like a unique product I've never seen before. It's like hot ice cream, baked ice cream. So we're starting that.
Can I make a request? I'm a dessert man.
Yeah.
Can you bring? I don't know what this thing's called, but it's the cookie with the croissant together combination.
I've been looking for that. I see it on Instagram. I ain't found a place that does it. It's not that.
I had it in, I think, France, I want to say, or maybe Belgium. That's a crazy dessert, man.
I've seen it. It looks mad. This is something different. This is
me and Mary are gonna lock in on this one, man. So a little stake in the business for that. Yeah.
Why not? And this is like a baked ice cream. We call it the baked ice cream company. So it's going well. It's only been 2 months, but I keep telling myself I'm not going to do anything else because I got enough stress as it is, man. Enough stress.
What do you find the hardest part of business?
Managing people. No one will do the job the way you will do it, but obviously you can't do everything yourself. So you need to delegate tasks and you need to delegate responsibilities to people. Even now, stepping back myself from being like the managing director to handing it over, it's difficult to step back because you see it as like best, but you need to remember that you don't. So you need to give other people the opportunity. People that want to work hard. Some people don't want to work hard. I didn't want to work hard in the beginning. I always looked for ways from school to like skive off, to bunk off, to do the minimum amount possible. And then if you are generally passionate and interested in an industry or in a business, then you'll work hard at it because you like it, you're interested. But it will always come with stresses, and you have to just overcome them and not give up.
I think staffing is something people struggle with a lot. Number one, like you said, for letting go of responsibility and not just dealing with everything. But like you said, just finding people that believe in the product as well, believe in the business and actually want to give their all. Like with it being a franchising model, how do you like sort of control the quality control side of things and that people are representing your brand?
With difficulty. It's not easy. Again, that's another risk of going down the franchising route, that it's not you or your people in the shop. It's like a third party. You just have to check them constantly. There's nothing else you can do, bro. You have to constantly check them. You have to have mystery shoppers. You have to inspections, customer feedback.
Have you had to withdraw franchises in the
Yeah,
past? Yeah.
yeah. In the last 12 months, we probably got rid of 6
Oh wow.
just because they're not interested.
Mm.
Some people are just not interested, and then we got some like multi-millionaire people like opening shops, and they're not interested because they got money already. You know, it's difficult to find good people, whether it's working, whether it's franchising. You have to find people with like a similar mind frame to you.
Makes sense. In terms of diversifying, because obviously you've already gone outside of like you're already global because you're in 3 continents, right? So is that something you want to actively attack, or where do you feel with the outside
It's
the UK
like starting
market?
the whole thing again, like going to Turkey. We went to Turkey recently. I went to Portugal. They're doing well, but it's literally like starting the whole thing again because no one knows who you are,
Yeah.
or very rarely anyone knows who you are. So you're literally starting all over again. So it's risky, and it brings back memories of like basically starting again and starting off from scratch in terms of like supplies, people, local marketing, branding. It's fun because obviously you turn it into a bit of a holiday to an extent. Because otherwise I wouldn't have time to go. But it's difficult.
It's funny. It reminds you. I don't know if you used to go to Amsterdam growing up, but
Yeah, many times.
the random favorite chicken in Amsterdam
Yeah,
on the
yeah, yeah,
corner.
yeah. I know the one.
And I
Yeah,
always
yeah,
saw
yeah,
that
yeah.
and thought,
How did he do that? But I think he's only got one though.
yeah, like, and I think maybe something where he did the one and thought this one's working, but
It's not the
I don't want to start again.
or it's not the country
Yeah.
to grow like massively. But we've sold the rights to 8 countries: India, Australia, Germany, Holland, Portugal, Dubai. So even if like 2 out of them 8 countries goes as well as it has in the UK, that's another like God knows how many shops.
Yeah,
So,
that can open. So you kind of found people that potentially can hopefully have that same energy. So effectively, you've given them the baton, and it's now their opportunity to run with it and,
Yeah.
and do their lap. That's nice. What? Do you have a fear of failure?
yeah, from failing at school and failing at the first business I did, there's always been a sense of failure. However, if I'm honest, I'm not sounding like cocky or confident, at this level that we're at now, I think it would be kind of difficult to fail
Yeah.
because we've already got past that. Sometimes I see it as like having an elastic band around you, and in terms of starting a business in general, no matter what the business is, you've got like an elastic band around you, and you have to work extremely hard, and you have to keep pushing forward and overcoming obstacles and having sleepless nights and struggling until that elastic band snaps, and then you're off. You know, not saying that you're gone clear once the elastic band snaps, but once you're on that trajectory, it's kind of more difficult to fail. Not impossible, but more difficult to fail.
Does anything scare you in business? Stop! Because you're watching this video, I've got a treat for you. I'm letting you know exclusively the PBK community is back open as of the 22nd of August. Now there's going to be 20 exclusive slots. For our new members, they're going to get access to myself, my power team, my solicitor, my architect, and loads of other great people, weekly Zooms, and exclusive off-market deals. If you want to be one of the lucky PBK members, make sure you subscribe to the mailing list, which is in the description, so you get early access. Now back to the video.
Just that small possibility of failing, because we don't know what's around the corner. Like COVID helped us, to be fully honest, but you don't know what's around the corner.
I think particularly when, even though it's not Mario's Fireaway Pizza, everybody knows it's yours. And I think when you're out there, particularly, there's a lot more almost pressure because you
100%.
feel like I can't go back to being X person when you've put yourself up here in terms of as a pedestal.
But not just that. I mean, I like business, and I get involved in different businesses. But even I think the same of like people on these reality TV shows. Like everyone knows them. You can't go and get a normal job.
Yeah.
Like you have to be, which is a lot of pressure for some of these people. So yeah, there is pressure, but there's always pressure's good.
Yeah, makes diamonds. I mean, that's some diamonds. Do you think you would invest in property? Is it something you've ever looked at? What's your attitude?
I think if I fully get out of the Fireaway thing and I've got time on my hands that I can like, I hate rushing, and even like today I had to rush here from a meeting in Milton Keynes. I hate rushing, and I think you need to find a good balance. The only time maybe I'd get fully involved in property is maybe if I fully got out of Fireaway, like sold it and just bought something and then just rented it out and collected the rent.
Yeah.
I bought a house at auction with my friend, with my business colleague in Uxbridge. We bought it 6 weeks ago at auction for 400 grand.
Okay.
So the stamp duty was minimal, and we're going to HMO it.
Yeah, because Brunel's around the corner.
The hospital's
University
right there.
Town,
But up until like a few months ago, I didn't even know what HMO was. So it's good to learn. You always got to learn and open up.
I think it is, because the more you know, the more you can appraise opportunities. So if someone calls you and says, "Oh man, I've got this great idea or great opportunity,"
Yeah.
if you know a little bit, you can very quickly know, is it worthwhile me doing some digging, or are they just sort of trying to sell me a dream?
Sell me a dream. Yeah.
But all right, off camera,
Any advice?
I'll
give you a shot.
I'll give you some other little opportunities. You know what I mean? How much of Fireaway do you still own? What percentage?
89, 88, 87%.
Oh, you've done well. You've done well to this stage, get to this stage and still own that much.
Yeah, I don't really want to give away too much at this point in time. Maybe in the future, but at this point, because we're still relatively new, would be the wrong time.
That's good. I'll go to my phone now, because we said we're having you on. Got a couple questions that people wanted me to ask you, so I'm going to check them. You know, when we spoke about that, you said like at the moment was when you had that first million in your account. Does going from the 1 million to, for example, selling the 6% and having 2 million, did that feel different? Or at that point, was it just
not a lot? It feels different, but not to that extent that you would assume. You feel more safe. You feel a bit more like you've got more of like a comfort blanket underneath you in case anything was to go wrong, or in case you make like a wrong decision.
Nice. And in relation to fifth year, hitting that £1 million in the bank, did it change how you view money?
No, for me, it's difficult to go and spend, £800 on a t-shirt, or, £1,000. Not to say I haven't done it, but I always kind of feel like kind of regret. A house is different because you got that value there. But in terms of just splashing money, even like in a club splashing, just because I think of how much things cost. So regardless how much money I've got, if I'm spending £1,000 on a bottle, I know that bottle's like £200 in the shop. So you've always got that sense of,
you start thinking,
even going restaurants, like I know the margins and how much the wages and the rent in that area. So if you're in Mayfair and you're spending like £200 per person in one of them like bougie restaurants, it didn't cost them more than like £30-40.
I think sometimes being a businessman or woman can take the fun out of nice things sometimes, because
you think too much.
All the time you're thinking, oh, but I'm being, rather than just enjoying the experience.
Yeah. I agree. But you got the whole reason that we work hard is so that we can enjoy in it. So I suppose you got to enjoy to a certain extent.
No, definitely. Someone else has asked, so in terms of your franchise model, why did you choose to go for fixed price over profit share?
Maybe trust issues, because to start checking tills and making sure that no one's like trying to hide any money, any revenue. So we just went for a set fee, and it helped. It worked. But now we're looking to change that for the new people coming on board. I think you have to,
because you're in a place where you've got the infrastructure to do the oversight now, whereas before you may have not been able to grow as fast. Would you be having to check pockets effectively? And
but now you got the team to do it, and you need the income to grow the business and to market the business.
And I think it's interesting how many similarities there are, because in the property space, in terms of doing joint ventures with people, or if you need funds, a lot of us would always sway towards offering somebody a fixed return as opposed to a JV, because it's like, if I tell you I'm going to borrow 100 grand off you and I'm going to give you 10 grand back on top at the end, it's just, that's exactly what I've got to give you.
You
haven't got to worry about checking my pockets, or we haven't got to have accounting. If it goes wrong, it's on me, and if it goes right, I get to make more.
Less 100%, less headache.
So to negate headache. No, it makes a lot of sense. People done their deep dives, man. People got some in-depth questions for you. So this one's more personal. It's like, as a man that likes his food, you touched on, travel a bit, been around, seen you enjoying. which country would you say has the best food?
The best like fresh natural food I've ever had is probably when I was on holiday in the Seychelles. But in terms of in general, probably Dubai. I think the service and the different, obviously it comes at a cost, but the different types of food and the level of like the presentation and the quality of the food, I would say Dubai. Mint Leaf, Indian restaurant in Dubai.
Is that your go-to?
That Maccabee, there's
a few. There's
a few.
Gaia, into Gaia. Gaia's nice.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff around, like, what's it called? DIFC, like they got a lot.
In the Atlantis Royale, the what's it called? It's owned by the people that own Hakkasan. It's called Ling Ling.
Oh yeah,
On the top,
yeah.
that's 10 out of
That's
10.
decent actually. I think we were supposed to go there maybe at one point when we were both there. I can't remember. Yeah, that's nice. That, and there's some places that are just, the food's rubbish, but they got a good vibe. But yeah, and it enjoys it. I think when people look at like successful people, I think a lot of the time they look at it and be like, that's amazing, particularly when you've come from where they've come from. They find it more relatable. But I still feel like there's always this gap. So if you were to give like a budding entrepreneur a piece of advice, like to make their business a success,
I think don't try and overthink the product. Sometimes you just need a simple product, but you don't need a crazy product, but you do need a crazy determination to make it work. And just to add a twist on it, you need to stand out from the competition, because otherwise you'll get the same results as the competition. Stick at something for 2, 3, 4 years before you give up, because it takes at least that long to see if it will work. I used to think of things and by the next week I'd have a new idea, and the next thing, you have to stick at something and you have to work hard, and there's no shortcuts. You need to struggle, and you need to struggle to see if you really want it.
I think that line there alone, you need to struggle. A lot of people, they want to miss that. They just want to go straight to the posting the nice pictures of here's my lifestyle, but don't understand that you've got to go through, sometimes you got to go through the mud to get to your end results.
100%. And learn how to deal with stress, because that's like a big, even me, I struggle sometimes, but if you don't know how to deal with stress, you're gonna find it problematic. And even for the people around you, it's gonna be difficult to deal with you if you don't know how to deal with stress.
No, definitely, man. Well, I think, look, you gave him loads of great insight into the business.
Time went quick,
hopefully we're gonna try and draw him into the property world, man. We're gonna try and find a way to combine it. Reckon a good place for you would be, the mixed use blocks, so buying buildings that have flats potential above, and then you've got the lowest below that you can basically end up getting for free. So we're gonna try, you know what I mean, over the next couple of weeks, we're gonna try and draw Mario in to get him into some opportunities.
Why not?
Obviously already all over the country, which is amazing. Like, we're going to put all of your links for people that want to connect with you and any potential products that you've got coming out. We're going to put them in the description of this.
Cool.
If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, because you see the caliber of the guests every week is just going up and up. But yeah, we'll catch you next week with another episode of the PBK podcast.